Hello, and welcome to Sound Solutions Intern Takeover. My name is Becky.
My name's Renee.
And we are the interns that are taking over. Today we have a great episode for you with a guest interviewee. We're talking to Laura McPhee. Laura is going to answer some questions on life post-internship and what that looks like and how we can better prepare for it.
And if you have any tips or ideas or tricks or comments, make sure you comment in the places that you can and get the discussion going to help us all out if you've already done this stage in your life. Another friendly reminder, we're still looking for patient/client interaction, so please submit that to interns@musicworksinc.com. The email will be in the description. We would really, really love it if you would send anything to help us out for our next episodes. It's coming up soon and we need more stories.
It can be a couple of sentences, it can be a paragraph, it can be a page, it can be a voice memo, whatever you want to send to describe any session that you've had that has stuck out in your mind. Please send it our way in whatever fashion you want to, and then you will be featured on the podcast, which could be very exciting, you know. All right. So, Laura, hi. Thank you so much for doing this today. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I can. So I am a music therapist in Cleveland, Ohio. So I work at the Cleveland Clinic, which is a large hospital system, and I'm at our main campus. And that has been my job since I left internship. So that's kind of the world I've known. I've been really happy out here in Cleveland. A lot of people say different things about Cleveland, but I love it. And I just finished my first year in a master's program in Augsburg. So that's also in Minneapolis. I'm just continuing to keep learning and growing.
How long have you been in MTBC again?
So I got my board certification in March of 2013, and I started my job in July of 2013.
Okay. What were your first couple years after internship like?
That's a good question. A lot of growth, I would say. I mean, that's continued. Moving to a new city. I'm originally from outside of Chicago. I knew I wanted to be in a city, but otherwise I was pretty open to going where I really wanted to be as far as population-wise. I was not someone that went into my internship knowing, this is the population I want to work with, which I felt like I was around a lot of people who knew, I want to work in hospice, or I want to work with kids. I kind of just really enjoyed working with all different types of people, and then in my internship really found that medical was an area that kind of played to some of my strengths, but also challenged me. So basically, once I finished my internship, which was January of 2013, I just kind of started looking and searching and just trying to find something every day in various forums. And that was when I saw this position open up in Cleveland. And I have learned so much from the patients that I've worked with in that setting, just every day, and the families that I work with. I also have learned a lot, I think, personally, just in my personal life, and made some pretty big decisions post-internship. I don't know how deep I should get here, but I ended a long-term relationship, and that kind of helped, I don't know the right word.
Push you along.
It really, what was that?
Did it help it push you along towards moving, or?
I think as I was working with clients, I found a lot of validation in the work that I was doing, and I wasn't necessarily finding the support in a relationship that I felt like I needed or deserved, or whatever word you want to put in there. And so it really kind of helped me kind of get into myself a little bit more and really pay attention to what I needed. I was so focused on my clients and their needs, but I definitely found myself pushing aside kind of what I needed. And as I started to really pay attention to that, I, ended that relationship and really kind of explored what made me happy and what I needed in my personal life, which definitely reflected in my work. And I think for everyone, there's going to be different challenges that come up. It's kind of a lifelong thing. But that really came up in my work where, I was finding validation, but I really needed to not necessarily find my, who I was and my clients. I really needed to let them be in their process, right? So support them, not try to fix them, which I think is something I've learned over the years, now being 6.5 years into my practice, what that means to hold space for someone and just witness. I think that's the word that comes up a lot. So I think over the years I've not only learned like how to witness the clients that I'm working with, but also, witness my needs and friends and family and all that good stuff.
So it sounds like there's a lot of growth within yourself and learning how, besides like an internship, you're learning a lot about music therapy as a profession, but it sounds like you went through a transitional period of learning yourself within the profession more independently. Am I right? Or
yeah.
Okay.
No, I definitely would say that. I just think we're constantly learning. And actually something that I talked about with a new friend in my program is, we don't need to have all the answers, and I don't think that's our space to have all the answers. And I think as a young professional, I really felt like, I'm the professional, and I need to know, what to do. And that has really, I've really moved away from that in my professional and personal life, just to be curious, right? To get curious and to be present with others. And a lot of times that's all that someone needs, is just someone to listen and, like I said, be a witness. A lot of times with the people I'm working with, they're suffering, and their pain, anxiety, whatever word fits, and also the little joys of, say, they got to sit up at the edge of the bed or walk that day, or just being present for those moments. And I feel like a lot of the beauty happens in that space.
Yeah, for sure. Were there any things like the first couple of years after internship that really challenged you or surprised you about entering the field, as opposed to being an intern in like more of an established program, I guess, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So I think right after, internship in my job, I was lucky to be in a program that had other music therapists, which I realize is not that common. But for the most part, I was alone, making new connections. My coworkers were out working with clients, and so that was a really big transition. I loved having a co-intern, and I loved that space for us to kind of support each other and supervise one another. Whereas in the professional world, it can be a little trickier to do that. So I found that I was searching for that in other professionals at the hospital. So I'm pretty much friends with all the social workers, all the palliative nurse practitioners.
So with referring to the portion where you talked about not knowing all the answers and accepting that, there's some of us out there that sometimes need a little more clarification. So I was wondering, what things did you wish you would have known post-internship, or things that you wish you would have done?
That's so hard to say, because I just feel like everyone's experience and growth is just so different and unique, and you kind of have to find what works for you. Maybe I can answer this in like a different way, because what I think of is like, okay, these are the things that helped me. Would that be a way to
Yeah, for sure. That would be perfect.
I think therapy is awesome. Like engaging in therapy myself for personal growth, for professional growth, that has been like life-changing in so many ways in my work, in my relationships, to understand the things that I bring to the table and what to be aware of when things come up for me to set aside, and so that I can still be present with the people that I'm working with. So that's been really important. I think making music for myself, which doesn't mean like, you have to be in a band, or you have to, be making music professionally, either playing by yourself, playing with friends very casually, going to concerts, learning new music, for you.
Yeah. So having your
yeah.
own relationship with music outside of music therapy.
Yeah. And I think so often, like for me in the population that I work in, repertoire is the way that I prepare, quote, for sessions, because I don't have session plans. In my population, you can't have that. You prepare by knowing as much music as you can and then just being really ready to learn kind of quickly.
Yeah, on the spot. We're in some hospitals and we are slowly learning that for sure. That
now.
Rep is how you build rapport with patients, and you have to be ready to just learn a song on the spot or come back with something when you can.
Right.
It feels like things that would have helped you or what you wish you had known post-internship is basically finding more balance between your personal relationships and work relationships and your relationship with music itself. Did I gather that?
Yes, I would definitely say that is a very good summary. Good job.
Thank you.
I try.
Yeah.
With that, what are some mistakes or common missteps you see in young professionals?
The biggest thing that comes to mind for me is, because I saw it in myself, is trying to do too much, specifically professionally. So I've had a fluctuation of, coworkers. So I have a caseload that just fluctuates all the time. I always have more people that I can see realistically. So I originally took that as like, well, I just gotta, see all of them. Which is
I just gotta figure it out. That's us
right.
on a regular basis. We're like, we'll figure it out. It's fine. We can split into 5 different people and see everybody. It's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you don't either like mentally break down, where I see it for me is like physically in my body, I just start to break down. In the middle of my internship, my left wrist and thumb just like gave out. I had to go to the doctor. I basically had to stop playing guitar the last 3 months of my internship, which, as I look back in hindsight, really helped develop my keyboard accompanying skills. But at the time, it really sucked.
Yeah,
because,
sure.
like, no, my area of comfort, which is accompanying myself on guitar, is now totally just taken away from me. But I really think that was my body telling me I needed to slow down in one way or another. I have chronic migraines that actually developed during my internship. I don't want to freak you out.
It doesn't matter. We're all good.
Yeah.
But just for me, it's been my body physically telling me you need to slow down. And so I've just been, over the years, just tried to get a lot better at listening to myself. So I guess what I see in young professionals is like, I'm going to take on the world and I can be everything for everyone, and I'm going to not have any signs in the end that I did that to myself. But really, it's just not sustainable. Internship is so intense. I mean, you're learning, like the learning curve is just enormous. And then you get into the professional world where you get to do this every day, but that also means you're doing it every day. So there has to be some space, giving myself space, which has rippled into having more space for my clients, my relationship. When I really listen to my body and what I can do that day, I feel that I'm led to the people that I need to see that day, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
When I'm really connected, I see the people I need to see. And I think if I see any sort of negativity in other, like, we call them caregivers at our hospital, so any doctors, nurses, or whatever, it's just that they want to be able to do that too, and they maybe are not able to. Does that make sense?
That makes tons of sense. I think it's all something that like we know and we preach to our clients and patients and we talk about, but there's always that disconnect when you're in your own circumstances and you're like, Okay, so I think we have one last question for you, just to kind of wrap things up. And we know that this is like kind of an out there question, but just answer it obviously to the best of your ability and within your opinion. We are always looking for advice. So
If you could create an action plan outline for students after internship, what would it look like?
The first thing that comes to mind is that when, excuse me, that was my dog. When I was post-internship, I was lucky enough, I was lucky enough that I got to choose my internship, and that financially my parents took it as like, this is kind of an extension of your college. And I know that that's not the case for everyone, right? Some people have to choose an internship where they have a stipend and that they can live and eat and, do all those things. So I want to say this with knowing that that's not always an option. And then I'll have a follow-up to that. This is a multi-part response. Sorry.
Perfect. That's what we want.
So I really focused on, I would just do something every day post-internship, whether that was sending an email to a potential employer or, friend who was out in the field where I wanted to be, or looking, updating my resume on Indeed, or, anything. I would just do one thing a day, because it can feel so overwhelming and you can feel like you're not getting anywhere and you feel like you just have to do everything all at once. But that was what I said to myself, is just do one thing a day, even if the rest of the day you watch Netflix. So that's my first thing. And then if you are in the situation where you did an internship that was great, but maybe it's not in a population that you see yourself in for the future, I would really encourage you to reach out to someone that is, and try to get some experience with them. Like, whether you're observing them or ask if there's a way that you can, I don't know how realistic this is, but help them in some way so that you can have some experience in that population. Because I can say, observing managers that are hiring music therapists, especially in the population I work in, they look for people that either have had an internship in the medical field, a practicum in the medical field, or has really actively tried to observe population. So whatever that population is for you, just try to find some experience. Maybe it's a training that you go to, because we get such a kind of general foundation in music therapy as undergrads. And then we kind of really go into these specific areas, right? Military, medical, hospice, and there are techniques and growth that emerges when you're working with those populations, that when an employer is looking to hire them, they're already looking for those things. And what else? Therapy, just 100%.
Oh, like therapy for yourself?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
It's like therapy. That's what I do. I'm so confused.
Yes.
For
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Go to therapy. That is just really important for me, for the things that I see on a daily basis. It's not based in reality a lot of times. It's not normal to see this many sick people in one day. But for me, it is, because that's the population that I work with. So, processing that, and the things that just come up, I want to keep staying human and being open-hearted to all the things that people have to share and experience and be present with. So I think that's a way that I continue to do that and to grow. Yeah. Oh, and I still take piano lessons. I go every other week.
Oh, cool.
Again, financially, you have to do what works for you. A lot of my lessons have been focused on different ways to authentically accompany myself with the variety of genres, right? So I've been bringing in country music to my piano teacher, and contemporary Christian, and I haven't brought in metal yet, but I have brought 90s grunge. So
I love that.
That's
that's perfect. It's so realistic, as you're I need to know how to do all of these things on this instrument. So being as flexible as possible.
Yeah. So that's been really helpful for me. So I hopefully answered that question.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's an action plan, because I think you really have to figure out what works for you, but those are some of the things I've I've discovered that have been helpful for me.
Yeah.
And going back to school. So I should have said that. That's been really kind of,
yeah.
it really has been pretty profound. I've been in the master's program for a year. It's been really hard, but it's been so amazing having that peer support, honestly, has been one of the greatest things, and a space where everyone is just coming together because they really want to dive deeper into it. But I also think that's been really important that I've had experience in the field for me, because I wanted to go back and be still working and learning at the same time.
Yeah, I've heard that from almost, everybody that I know that has gone back for a master's or a doctorate, is just that if you can afford it and it's something that you want to do and dig deeper, that it's just an amazing experience and really changes the way that you practice overall, which is amazing. So just to summarize, some key things that you think interns should do post-internship, or I guess young professionals should do, is going to therapy, doing one thing every day.
Towards getting a job. So
towards getting a job.
Completing a resume, doing the cover letter, one thing at a time. Then also investing in your learning. I got that. Investing in your learning by seeking observation opportunities towards the population you want to work in.
Making yourself more employable through that.
And proceeding your pursuit of learning, whether through more education in music therapy, but also doing lessons with other instruments and continually to grow as a musician as well as a therapist.
Did we get them all?
I think you got them all. And I also just want to, I know I'm adding all these things.
No, that's okay.
If going back to school is not financially accessible, I get, through my work, I get a certain amount of employee tuition reimbursement. So that's amazing. But if you can't do that, I think just having a focused space where maybe you create a peer supervision group. I know my coworker has started that. And maybe you talk about the newest journal that comes through, like the literature, or even outside of the music therapy literature, something that you really want to kind of dive into more. There's a lot of different ways to learn and grow. So I don't want to say there's, going back to school is the only way, but yeah. So I just want to say that caveat, I guess.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So lastly, we always do a resource corner at the end of our episode.
And by always, we mean in all 2 of our episodes.
2 of our episodes that we have done.
It's a trend now.
Yeah, we're trying to trend it up.
Okay, so the first thing that comes to mind, and maybe people have already said this, but in addition to having like my paper music organized the way, I kept it honestly the same as I did an internship, which was my decade, and then additional genres that didn't fit in that. I also have all of that on an iPad on Song, so that's really helpful, as well as I pay for the Ultimate Guitar Tabs app, and I have a lot of music in there. So those are like some of my great resources. And then I have like fake books, so that's like paper material.
Yeah, they got those nice lead sheets on them, so like if you're at a piano, you can quick plunk out the melody and then sing. I love those books.
Because guitar tabs, like, I'm not gonna know, unless I've heard the song before, I'm not gonna know how to do it. And
they don't display rhythm.
Fake book allows that. Fake books are still helpful, even if you make a flop. And I had another one. Oh, so a lot of times I'm referred to help with anxiety and like relaxation in the hospital because it's a intense place. And so I have a few apps if I have patients that are really interested in using that sort of technology, because obviously I can't be there when they're trying to go to sleep at night. So I have a few that I have either used personally or I've like really checked out before I suggest them. The first one is Insight Timer, which is, people have probably heard of that one, but it's just INSIGHT Timer. And that has not only like just a timer where you can focus on meditation, but it also has guided meditations and like sounds that you can choose. So there's kind of a lot of different options. And then another one is called Anxiety Helper. And the story behind that app is really cool. I won't say that, but
They'll have to do their own
look
research.
into it. I really love that one for the affirmation. So I know this is kind of getting a little bit away from music, but I think some of them have musical aspects within them too. And then the last one is called, it's changed the name, I think. It's called Stop, Breathe, Think. It's like a cloud with like a little red thing around it. And that one, you can like choose, I think it's up to 5 or 6 different emotions. Oh, cool. And then it'll like pull up different options. So it'll be like a body scan or like a 5-minute guided relaxation or various different things.
Awesome.
I like using those things myself, and I like, offering them as resources if I have people that I'm working with that are interested in them.
We'll definitely put all those resources in the description of this podcast to make it easier for everyone to find them. Those were really helpful. I'm really excited to explore those apps.
Thank you so much, Laura, for everything. Are there any final thoughts or anything else that you'd like to shout out to the masses?
Just to be really kind to yourselves. I mean, you too personally, but also whoever is listening. It can be just such a important space to practice that for ourselves, because we so often give that to others, and we have endless kindness and compassion for other people, and I think sometimes we can forget to turn that around and practice that on ourselves. So I guess be kind to one another, be kind to yourself first.
Aww. I'm sitting here like, you're speaking to my heart.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I quoted Ellen in that a little bit, but I love her, so
it's okay.
Sometimes you need to quote Ellen. Thank you so much. This was amazing. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to do this. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to us. Thank you to Laura for taking the time out of her day to help and give us some advice and just some personal viewpoints.
Here's another friendly reminder to submit patient and client interactions to interns@musicworksinc.com.
Links are in the description. Thank y'all so much. R&B out.